Hello, everybody. It's me, Reaper Steve. I'm joined by the wonderful Jammer. Welcome to Into Overtime podcast. Hello,
Hello.
Jammer. Hello.
Yeah, we didn't
hello.
skip that one.
We didn't. Yeah, this is only like the third attempt today, so that's not too bad. That's pretty good. Took like what 4 or 5 on our first episode, I think, for me to be like, right, okay, this is exactly how I'm going to say it and the way I'm going to say it.
Do you want to introduce our lovely guest?
Yeah, I was going to say, today we're joined by a guest, one of Jammer's longtime friends and former comrades. Hello, James. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
James, sorry, apologies.
Yep. James, like it's definitely not confusing having two James on a podcast.
Oh, definitely not at all. I mean, it could be worse. You could be called Steve, but your name is actually Nick. I mean, like that's
yeah. Who would do that?
There with the confusion. Tell us a little bit about yourself, James.
I guess I am the complete most average CS player possible. I'm MG1, which means that I am officially the average rank, and I just enjoy a lot of CS.
Best way to be. I mean, I'm of the same mindset. I just enjoy watching a lot of CS. I used to enjoy playing quite a lot of it, but currently I'm not really doing any matchmaking because, I mean, matchmaking is just toxic. Let's be pretty honest ourselves. And I don't really tend to jump into face it too much because me and Jammer tend to cover so many players from that play in the face it leagues that I'm involved in. I don't really want to go up against them because I'll just get bullied. You know, like. I think we're all fully aware of the fact that I will just get absolutely battered in a game for love or money, and then just sit there afterwards going, every time we cast, this player is going to be in there, and he's just going to chat shit in the Twitch chat like constantly. Remember that time you 007 and all that? You know, it's just going to happen. But no, yeah, it's a pleasure to have you, mate. I hope you enjoy, at least anyway, what we have in store. We've had a bit of like a weird week, haven't we, Jammer, where we had a hybrid kind of evening where we did some North America casting, and then we did the one and only playoff game for Esports Wales, which was a little bit I was disappointing more than anything, but we had a really good chat, didn't we, afterwards, thankfully. The players from Esports Wales, hands down, are like some of the friendliest bunch I think we've had the opportunity to work with. They were more than welcoming to have us into their like Discord chat afterwards, and we had like a bit of a catch up. We had a laugh and a joke over the season that's just finished, and kind of like set things up for the new season, right?
Yeah, I think it was interesting to get an insight into like the players' personalities and stuff, because we talked to them before, but we never really like had the kind of like banterous kind of insight to see how they like operate around each other and like learn about them buying like 3 liters worth of water in a box for no apparent reason, just random stuff. But it was great. I got to learn a little bit more about the guys, and like I even offered to like coach them, and that went about as well as you could expect.
That went down like a lead balloon. It was great. I was sitting there, I was just like, oh, please someone respond to him. And I think the overall response was like, yeah, anyway, and then just like carried on with the conversation. I can appreciate it. Should probably explain to James what we're on about with the 3 liters of water. So one of the players' car, did he say it was his radiator or
his coolant or something started leaking?
Coolant. He went to Tesco's to buy water to put in it, of all things, and bought like 7 liters of water. But there was 3 liters in this like box, basically like a wine box next to his desk. And he was like, I didn't need all the water I bought in the end, so I just fetched this upstairs so I could just drink water constantly when I play. And I was like,
yeah, got to stay hydrated.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like you do you. Better than like milkshake or like, cans of Pepsi lying around all over the place and that. Or Monster or your favorite energy drink, whatever it may be. But yeah. So that was us this week, at least anyway, James. Like you fill you in the blanks of what we've been up to. What have you been up to? I mean, you mentioned before we hit the record button that you've just finished off university.
Yeah, I just finished off all of my exams and submitted my final coursework. So hopefully that's gone all well, and then hopefully to get to play some more matchmaking and like start that grind back up to global elite, obviously, because yep.
A new challenge for me, if I can carry you to
James better get his shoulders nice and loose, because yeah, he's going to be carrying a lot of people up there.
We talked about this week because we were on about what games we're playing, right, Java, and you were like, I play CS this week now. You know, do a couple of games in that, and I was going, bro, I'm just going to play Escape from Tarkov. It's just wiped. You know what I mean? Like I'm on a whole different brain wavelength than Jama. Jama's on that grind constantly to get himself up to like LEM, the highest ranking possible within the world of CS, and I'm just sat there going like, I just don't want to die in customs, to be honest with you, mate. Like, I want to be able to go in with all the kit that I want to come back out with and be happy with it.
Yeah, I mean,
who doesn't love a good telling off when you've accidentally misthrown a smoke? So,
oof. There's a story behind that.
Expose for later.
Weirdly enough, I've said this week in a cast that me and Jama did, where I was like, what you guys don't realize is behind the scenes, Jama just bullies me constantly, and this is now coming to like fruition. Where you're like, you're getting the
he
same
doesn't just
vibe.
bully you. You're not special. He bullies all of us. Like.
No, I'm waiting for the day where both of mine and Jama's schedule aligns where we can play a game of CS together, so you can finally realize like how good my aim is, but how poor I am at playing the game.
Get it done at some point.
Yeah, exactly. It might be a Christmas special. Who knows? Like, or a New Year special kind of thing.
Yeah. I would be so down to make like the Christmas special of the podcast to just be us in an MM game, like trying to have a podcast while I teach you. Yes.
And that's all you hear is just the random dude on our team goes, "Suck a blade," and you're just like, "Shut up, man! I'm trying to record a podcast here. Stop shouting in the microphone." Yeah,
like a video podcast, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, we've like kind of we talked about the idea of doing video podcasts, haven't we? And we've got some stuff in the pipework that's kind of like, it's brewing nicely. I think is probably the better way of putting it at the minute.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of piecing bits and pieces together because this is like, so to give you a bit of background on Into Overtime, like we had this concept of doing a podcast in August. I want to say.
At least.
And like it went back and forth for ages, and like me and Jammer at that point hadn't really we were working together predominantly, but we hadn't really said that we were working together predominantly, if that makes sense. We were just kind of going like, we're doing loads of gigs together, and that was it.
In that flirtatious zone where you're like something but not.
Exactly. I mean, like you put it in a really comedic value way. But in my heart, that's exactly what it was like, Jared. I mean, we're in the honeymoon period now. It's like we were working together quite a fair bit, and we were kind of flirting with the idea of potentially, kind of joining up together, do a dual cast a group rather than kind of both of us applying for jobs singly and then getting that one and being like, hey, I've got this guy that I work with quite a lot. He's pretty good, and I want to work with him as well on your gig, and getting people into each other's gigs like that. To then going, well, we can just work together and cut the middleman out. And when we apply for these sort of casts, then we're already together. They've got a duo partnership rather than messing around. And yeah, like the idea came about in like August time. We were talking about the first iteration of the podcast. And then we went on a podcast. Oh, I say a podcast, like a weekend show, isn't it? Like, a roundup of what was going on in Esports Wales. And then like, I think we both kind of made the decision together of being like, okay, let's get some artwork done and see where we go with that. And if we still want to do it, then we'll do it. And then we got the artwork done, completed. And then we've started kind of, okay, this is how we're going to phase this out. Nick's going to do all the talking more or less, because that's what he does best. And Jammer's going to chime in with like the witty remark every now and again. Yeah, and we're just kind of like fleshing out as we go along. I think that's probably the best way of putting it. So you are literally our first proper guest on our first proper episode. The last one was just our intro.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah. Which our intro was more or less just 30 minutes of me and Jammer rambling and going like, I can't remember what we said. We were talking about like, this is what we want the podcast to be. This is how we want. This is what we're going to be doing. And then 5 minutes of me going, so how about that game of esports the other night? And just having that kind of conversation. Speaking of that game of esports the other night, IEM finals just happened yesterday. We're recording this as of the 13th of December. Forget my dates right around. Vitality smashed the entirety of NIP. Over 3 maps out of a best of 5. Best of 5 is like my weirdest format.
Why?
I just don't like best of 5. I prefer best of 3, like 2 maps and done. But I think that's because of my mentality of being like covering all those NA gigs and sitting there going, God, man, can you imagine if we had to go to map 4? You know what I mean? Or like map 5, like. But yeah, I think best of 3 is a better format for me. But best of 5 works for others. Jammer, I'm sure that you're gonna counteract me by saying that best of 5 is better than best of 3 or something.
I mean, like, okay, in terms of viewership, you're right. Like, best of 3, like, it's nice, quick, and simple. 3 hours, 4 hours max. Best of 5, I think, gives you the best team overall. You know, in a best of 5, you're pretty much playing the majority of the regulation maps. Like, you're truly seeing who the best team is. But you're right in the fact that, like, if it goes all 5 maps, you're literally sat there for like an entire working day just watching one game of Counter-Strike to find out who's the best. And like, no one has that kind of time. So yeah, I think best of 3 is probably where we can like settle upon things. Maybe like best of 5 is appropriate when you've got an upper bracket run, because like a best of 3 doesn't really let you give the upper bracket run team an advantage. But yeah, I don't know. Best of 5, it worked out in this one because it was only 3 maps. But I get what you're saying. Yeah,
I mean, like 1610, 1610, like 1613. Sorry, James, you were saying.
Yeah, I was going to say that I tend to enjoy best of 3s better because I think it gives us the best quality CS, if that makes sense, because you're playing maps that these teams really specialize in. And okay, you might see wipes on either of their map picks and then have interesting final. But I don't know. I just find that the best of 3 provides sort of a more condensed, higher quality CS, I guess.
I guess. The only thing that I think would affect players, because it's really hard to actually get fatigued while playing a video game. I think the more key factor is like decision fatigue, which is a thing. Like if you look at the research, this is going to get really boring. Like the viewership's going to drop here. But anyway, if you look at the research,
I'm interested.
Like supermarkets actually play a lot on decision fatigue. So the reasoning behind having like the milk at the back of the store and having like all these end caps and the way that they formulate everything in terms of layout is just to throw as many shiny things in your face so that you have to look at something and be like, oh, that's something I like, that's something I want. Oh, I really want that case of beer, but you know, I have to say no to that. But then you say no like 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, like it does fatigue you to the point that by the time you've got the stuff that you wanted, your like decision making is fatigued and you start putting stuff in your basket that you wouldn't usually find. You know, you end up walking into Tesco's for a jug of milk and walk out with a TV like I did.
Yes, I really wanted to fresh that right at the very end because that is literally our conversation on Saturday afternoon. So we our NA gig was Saturday, James, right? So sat there. I'm sat there in Discord, just waiting around. I got my timings completely wrong, by the way. I'll admit that out front because Jammer's going to fetch it up regardless anyway. I
just forgot honestly, but
I was sat there and I was like, I'm almost certain that 1 p.m. Pacific time is like 7 p.m. UK time. And I convinced myself that it was 7 p.m. In reality, it's like 9 o'clock in the night rather than 7 o'clock in the night. So I rang Jammer 2.5 hours before the gigs were starting. I was like, bro, where are you? And he's like, dude, I'm walking around Tesco's with the TV. What are you on about? Like we haven't got a gig until later. But yeah, Jammer officially went to Tesco's to get a few bits and pieces and walked out with, how big was the TV? It's like 50 odd inch?
50-inch TV, yeah. 4K.
Bro, how much you spending on a Tesco shopping run?
To be fair, it was like it was only like 330 or something like that.
Well, you better have remembered your club card because
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a mad amount of points.
Yeah.
My parents do this thing with the club card. I don't know if anyone else does it, but like they collect them over the year, and you can actually exchange them for like short trips away. So you can book like cottages and stuff. Yeah. They do it. They go away like twice a year doing that now.
Yeah, we do that as well. We don't use the like trips away or anything, but like we'll look at what's available at least. We do the same thing with Nectar, but this is really region specific. So let's go back to CS, guys.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, you see region, yeah, actually region specific, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you go to IKEA, you can do the same thing in Sweden. Maybe I don't know. I
Okay.
went to an IKEA when I went to Sweden Jammer, and it was it was just unbelievable. Anyway, that's the story about DreamHack, which I'm more than happy to run through with yourselves at some point in the future or during this episode if people remind me of it. But my trip to DreamHack to watch DreamHack was banging. In any case, IEM Winter. Back to the subject at hand.
Yeah.
It didn't go to best of 5. It only stayed at 3 maps, which is good from a viewership perspective. Probably not so good from a commentator perspective, especially if you're on day rate. Sitting there going like, go to map 5, baby. I need the money. Fafa needs a new pair of Louis Vuitton shoes or wherever you can buy for that kind of money kind of thing. But the picks were kind of weird for me. Like, NIP picked Inferno to begin with, then Vitality picked Dust2, NIP picked Nuke, and I think Raj was the last pick from Vitality with all past the decider. And you're just like sitting there going, those are beefy maps to begin a best of 5 with. Like Inferno is a tilter. If you lose that in a really bad way, especially if it's your pick, you're going to be feeding that into the next map easily. And then you go into Dust2, which is like just a spam fest, you know what I mean? And I don't know what the mentality with the pick was like with that, but I mean, if there was a game plan involved in it, it certainly didn't go the way that NIP. I think NIP felt it was going to go.
I mean, going into this, we got to remember their storylines. Like NIP, they're playing with Fuzzy instead of their star AWPer. They've got Tag in there who still doesn't know Swedish. Like, they literally ran in there with no strats, as well as G2. Like these two teams just kind of ran in like half a team walking, and they did remarkably well. One thing I wanted to talk about, and that's why I bring in G2 to the equation, is the MVP of ZywOo over Nico, because Nico, I think statistically actually did better. Oh no, not better because of the finals, but up to the finals, Nico was like the MVP. But because they didn't get to the finals, obviously he can't get it. What do you guys think about
that? I'll let James go first. This one.
If I'm honest, I am very much biased because I am a G2 fan. So I am going to say that Kenny S is the greatest player of all time, and anyone who speaks ill of him is anyone who speaks ill of G2 deserves to be burnt at the stake.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there is always that bias towards the final, and the fact that the people who make it to the final are the people who are the most successful, who are the names of the names of the tournament, and being on the winning team certainly helps in the case of getting an MVP. So I guess I can't be too mad at the fact that ZywOo got the MVP, but I mean, I do sort of wish that Nico had got it, but
yeah.
Steve,
I think when you boil it down to like a strictly stats perspective, right? Like, and I've gotten more and more into my stats pull-in than I have been in, historically, and I do use a couple of different websites to get my stats from it. But even if you looked at just the basic level of stats, HLTV stats, okay, and you go to IEM's page on HLTV, as far as top players are concerned for the entire tournament, Nico is 1.32 as far as rating is concerned, and ZywOo is 1.27. And that's over 9 maps for Nico because they didn't play the final, and 14 maps for ZywOo because they played like 3 extra maps over the space of the tournament. So, like, from a strictly stats perspective, Nico's definitely on top, right? Like, I think we can't mention Nico without mentioning what happened at Major. And I like to see the fact that he's still kind of playing to the ability that he has, even with the knockbacks that he's had over this last 12 months. But yeah, I mean, I think, if you're looking at like a player's or a fan's top player, it's Nico, right? Like, if it was up to us as individual fans, voting for an MVP, like you would have for like esports player of the year or whatever, then Nico is going to be up there as far as this tournament's concerned.
Yeah.
But from a stats
Most
and
definitely.
an IEM perspective, like their like basis of it, it's always going to be who's in the final and who performs best out of the finalists.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kenny S, by the way, and I'm glad James fetched up because it was part of part of a thing that I sent to Jammer, and we were talking about it for a bit in DMs. Kenny S is like back, and like quotation mark back, right?
He's lit. I mean,
yeah,
Blast. I think Nex is coming back for Blast.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
But Kenny S has still got it.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he came out in the press and he was like, I love using the word press, by the way, when we talk about esports. It's great that we can actually now be like, when you come out in the press and it's not, people don't think of the sport or the sun. I mean, they think of like, our version of the newspapers. But yeah, he came out back on I think it was the 9th or the 10th that we were talking about, Jammer, and he was like, I'm getting back into CS is now my main focus.
Yeah.
I want to get back to the way that I was and play at the level that I was playing in. He's still benched at the minute from G2, but yeah, I mean, he's still got it right. Like he's going to be swinging back into that squad easy.
I think he okay, in my eyes, I think he underperformed at IEM Winter. Like he showed flashes, but the fact that he was a last minute addition and like he was out of practice and stuff is like an asterisk on that performance. I do want to see more from him before I necessarily say like, oh, he's back. Like he's not like Jordan returning. Like he's still got some more to go. Like if I bring it to you in this metaphor, like bringing it all together, should we say? I'd say like Kenny S is kind of like a Pele kind of figure. Like he is the kid from like the previous age, before this iteration of CS, where like he was just like the crazy like dominant player. But then moving forward into these days, you've got like Simple and Zaiwu as Messi and Ronaldo, and then Nico's kind of like floating there as in the conversation, but like not up to the mark as the kind of like a Neymar type player for the modern like football game. And I just think like if Kenny S wants to come back, like he has to kind of like start from the bottom again. I don't know. That's just me.
We have a round of applause for the football analogies there as well. Like I love that. That's like bang on the money. I kind of agree with you though. I mean, like when you look back over like the history of CS, when you look back at all the professional players that we've had, like these big impact players, these massive kind of personalities, these big kind of personalities within sport. Kenny S is definitely one of the players that's up there, right? Like you're always going to remember those. You're always going to remember those frag reels from previous majors, from like DreamHack 2017 when he played in Masters of Malmo, and you're always going to think back at those kind of eras of Kenny S. I think he has got a bit of work to get back up to that kind of level, but he's still got it when he needs it. Like I think if you put him on not to put him on a pedestal or anything like that, and be like, he's the greatest, he's this, that, and the other. But I think he's got a really good fighting chance to getting back up into that kind of bracket of player, that personality that we saw previously from him. Out of the show matches, back into a G2 squad, and just kind of swinging that all around every which way but loose. And I'm interested to see more from him. I mean, speaking of IEM though, and again, we should probably talk about some of the other players. Device.
Yes. Yeah. He's going to be missing Blast as well.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah, that is rough. Yeah. Sorry to break that news for you. Yeah, it came out today, I think it was, Jama, or yesterday.
Something like that.
Yeah. They'll miss
Is
Blast.
it personal reasons or
illness? I think it was, if I remember rightly from Twitter.
ooh?
Yeah, sorry to break the bad news to you, James. Yeah, he's missed out on Blast. I'm almost positive it's illness. I'm at with that. I'll actually look it up. Jam, you continue talking. I'll look it.
No, it is illness. Yeah, I
It
just
is illness.
checked while you're talking, but yeah. Interesting that sorry, I just read there the COO for NIP is stepping in as coach while Threat takes like that new position, the new role in the technical director's seat. So that's going to be interesting to say the least.
Wait, as in the CEO for NIP is going to be stepping in, not
Yeah.
like another coach. Okay.
Yeah.
that is certainly a power move. Like,
Yeah, that's different. Does he have any? I mean, like, I'm assuming he has some sort of coaching history then, or is he just the operational officer and he's just going like, do you know what? I can play CS. I can do that easy. I'm assuming he.
From what
Do you
I
know
can
his
see,
name?
CALC. He's got nothing on HLTV apart from one time that he played with Young Ninjas. What date was that? Back in 28th of January of this year. So he's played once for Young Ninjas, went 10-37, and that's about all his HLTV profile has.
So he is actually. I've researched while you're researching. Why not? Wikipedia, the next best place to go to when you want to find out about a player, right?
Yep.
He's a retired Danish professional Counter-Strike player from 1.6 era.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's got quite a number of tournaments under his belt as well. I mean, the majority of them are C tier tournaments, S tier tournaments, a few of them packed into it as well. Playing for a number of different teams. His last team played for is 2006, and that was for, by the looks of things, Team Dignitas. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, he's got some teams under his belt, but he's also got a what's that 2006.
He's just coaching though. He isn't playing, right?
Yeah, he's coaching.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I guess it won't affect them too much because there are the occasional tournaments that these professionals do go to without their coach. Player is injured, but with their coach playing rather than coaching, and they'll just have an empty coaching spot. So I imagine that the coach will take over most of the IGLing duties. And
I mean, we're just speculating now, so there's no point carrying this
Yeah,
conversation on.
I kind of I mean, I'm interested to see how it goes. I mean, like, well, I say I'm interested to see how it goes. We've got less than 24 hours to see how it goes because tomorrow is when Blast starts for the world premiere. World
Finals.
Yeah, I can't remember words are right around. It would help, wouldn't it?
Should we move to actual speculation on transfer news?
Yes. This is like Jammer's favorite thing to send me, by the way, via DM. It's like, have you seen this? Oh my days!
I'm just so hyped to see like what our shit hot takes are. But anyway, Monacy has almost been confirmed to move to G2.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's
who?
Who's he going to replace though? I mean, like I don't know much about the player, but who would he ended up replacing?
Monacy, for those of you who are not heard of this guy, is like the next simple incarnate. Like this dude is the mad crack AWPer that we've not seen. This is like the new coming of Kenny S from what we hear on the street, but he's, I think, Ukrainian or Russian, so he was on Navi.
Wait there. Is this the? Yeah, I was gonna say, is this is the young kid from Navi Junior? Okay.
Yeah.
I know who you're on about now. Yeah.
He's been bought to G2, and the word on the street is it was for $600,000.
My God, that's like what?
Yeah.
I mean, it is what G2 need, though. I think because
Star AWPer.
I mean, maybe not a Star AWPer, but someone who actually specializes in the AWP, because I think they did miss that a bit during sometimes getting those opening picks during the major. I don't know about if you guys felt the same way, but
yeah, I mean, they managed to get to a major grand finals without an AWPer. Like, imagine if they had a sick AWPer in that situation. Nico would have got MVP. We might have seen Simple robbed of another major. All these kind of mad storylines. But yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. Monacy obviously will probably replace one of the French players. Another bit of speculation is Rops is looking for a new home, and it's kind of looking to be G2 or FaZe, I think.
FaZe would be an interesting one.
Yeah, FaZe are rebuilding.
Yeah, because that is the reformation of the squad then, more or less. Speaking of reformations as well, there was a rumor that I don't know if it's still legitimately a rumor or not, but the Stewie rumors
Stewie going to EG.
Yeah, and rebuilding Evil Geniuses as well.
I have like no extra information on that, but I do know that Liquid.
Liquid are looking at rebuilding, aren't they, for next year?
Yeah, so the word on the street for that new squad is going to be Naf, Elige, Nitro, OC, and then either Shox or Vinny, which I think has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I'd say Shox over Vinny, but yeah, that's either way. It's got potential, regardless. The 4-stack before you can get the Shox's bang. That's
It's a shame that you didn't mention Grim, did you?
No, he's been cut.
No. That's a shame because I really did like Grim. I think
it didn't work because they took a star player and put him in bitch roles.
Yeah, because he's not been too healthy as far as like starting is concerned. I mean, they've forced him into the starting position because Liquid have forced him into the starting position because they don't have anyone else that can really step into that role. And I don't think he's had the best of times since. Same with Fallen though, really as well. Whilst they've been playing together. I mean that sounds more like a Liquid team anyway, like the rebuild, reformation of it. And Evil Geniuses, if the Stewie 2K rumors are true about Stewie moving to Evil Geniuses and then kind of building that team up, like the names that I've heard floating around are the names that you've mentioned to me that are floating around for Evil Geniuses. Like that's going to be another really, really big squad. Like a revitalization of like a North America team. Do you know what I mean? Like it's going to be crazy. Back to like old school NACS day. Yeah, exactly. Make NA great again. I think the interesting thing to look forward to is Blasto, right? Like, moving into World Finals. Liquid have got Liquid are playing the World Finals. They're going to be playing against Navi tomorrow. I think it is their first game.
Yeah.
I'm working throughout the entirety of the day, so I'm not going to have it up for definitely on my tablet next to me on my laptop. I promise. Like that's not going to happen, of course. And if you see any tweets from me saying, I can't believe X, Y, Z, if they get sent to my boss, then I will be very unhappy. But it is what it is. I'll be watching it kind of in the background with great expectation because I want to kind of see. I want to see Navi basically batter Liquid and continue to just batter teams. Like it sounds really bad to say it like that, but that's just the way that they feel like they're built for now.
I'll put that into a nicer set of words. I like living through greatness, right? Okay. So we've witnessed a couple of those kinds of moments from different sports, like Tom Brady, the GOAT of American football quarterbacking. We've lived through Michael Jordan, Serena Williams for women's tennis. Like
Lee Trundle for Swansea City. Yeah, no, definitely.
We've lived through a couple of like GOATs, like greatness. I think what we're waiting to see is like true kind of greatness in CS. And I know we've had the Astralis era, but like I don't think we've had the same kind of Jordan type figure in this kind of like new esports world compared to basketball or American football, where we've had like one guy who's like the guy and then a like mad crack team around him. And this is kind of like the first, or not the first time it's happened in CS, but it's the first time that's happened in the modern era of CS where the game's blown up and you've got like millions of dollars pumped into different teams and everyone's trying to like vie for each other. It's competitive. And then you've still got this crack team of players who are actually going to form their own era. I think that's kind of like what we've always been on the precipice of with Simple. We just need it to manifest now with the likes of Bit and Electronic.
Because he's got that he's got that. The team has got what they say, like in basketball, you sort of need to have 2.5 star players if you want to win an NBA championship. I don't know if you guys have heard that. And I think, like you said, Navi finally have that 2.5. That I know that it doesn't quite translate into CS, but it 2.5 does feel like the right number.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a player like Kirill, Perfecto as well. Also, earlier, like swinging into the mix. They're healthy as far as score lines are concerned. They're healthy as far as like the way that they play. But it feels like to liken it to football terminology once again, and this isn't going to make much sense, but it'll make sense when I get to the end of it. I promise. Like Man City a number of years ago bought all these like high profile players, right?
Yeah.
They bought like the best players in the world, chucked them
Micah
into a squad.
Richards, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like,
Yeah.
play football. Do you know what I mean? Play together and you're going to be great. And it took like 4 or 5 seasons for them to really get to that point where they were playing like a mixed, like a really good team. You know, they had really good team play, and you know, players were taken away. They were slotted in different places, and then all of a sudden they became like a big powerhouse of the Premier League. Kind of feels that way with Navi in a way. You know, they've had shifts here and there. They've had little bits of tweaking in the background, and you know, like you've got Bit who's just come into the team, last player coming in like a year ago, I think actually now by this point, more or less. It must be about a year. And you got Perfecto coming in who's just into their like that 2-year, 3-year limit mark, and they've just kind of like formed themselves around each other, and they now play like this high class team. Like, there's not many teams that can boast having like a 95% win average, right? There's not many teams that can boast having that kind of impact into CS. I made no sense whatsoever what I was saying. I know I didn't, and I know that there's going to be a message from either you, Jakey, most likely will probably message me and be like, "What the hell are you on about? Like, you on crack or something?" But yeah, like there's not many teams that can boast the way that they now play versus the way that they did play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can kind of get the sentiment that you're going with there, and like,
Yeah.
well,
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, looking forward, I don't know who can challenge this squad. Like, obviously, it's going to take time for teams like Astralis, Liquid. Like, I feel like most of the competitors of this Navi squad are going into a rebuild phase that's like kind of buying this kind of like golden ticket for Navi to establish their era, but you still kind of have other teams that are still vying for that spot. Like G2, like if they get Monacy, I fully expect them to hit the ground running, like hit some sort of like magic honeymoon period and upset Navi at some point. But we're just kind of like waiting at this point, waiting to see what happens. And I feel like that's happened a lot in CS. Like we were waiting to see how long the Astralis era would last. We were waiting to see if NA could, you know, not be dead. But none of those kind of prayers have been answered yet.
I mean, if the deal was done and dusted for him to come to G2 already, you could have potentially seen it happen in Worlds. Because I mean, if things go the way that people expect them to go, Navi beats Liquid, right? Like, I think that one is. I think that one's fairly safe to say that that's going to happen. Like, I don't want to be
no,
that
like,
guy.
what they call major hangovers or whatever. They've been
Yeah,
partying too much.
yeah, exactly. You know, Gambit Heroic is going to be the next game after. I think it's the next game of the day. You know, out of them two, I mean, odds wise, it's looking more better more for Gambit than Heroic, right? Like, you'd expect it to swing that direction. And then if we keep building that kind of mentality of like, okay, well, this is the next game, this is the next game, this is the next game, G2 would potentially meet Navi in the upper finals. You know, if they beat NIP, which, I mean, it is looking like a strong likelihood that they will. Vitality versus Astralis is in the opening bracket round just after them on Wednesday. You know, if they can pick up a win against either one of those sides, realistically speaking, yeah, we could have a Navi G2 upper final. You know, for a place in the grand finals. You know, we could be seeing a complete repeat of Major, more or less, in the grand finals, depending on what happens with consolidation finals as well. And yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if that happens. That would be kind of cool, really, wouldn't it, to get both those teams in the grand final again?
Yeah, man. I'm just sad that we saw the last dance of Vitality.
Yeah. Do you think so?
I don't know how well Magisk and Dupree are going to slot in, especially like they only just got their like you know their big grand finals win after all this work, and like it is their last dance. Like Magisk and Dupree are coming in like very soon, as well as Zonic. So obviously, I think they'll do okay. It will take them maybe like 6 months, maybe a year for them to get to the point where they're doing okay again. But like, I don't know. I feel like they only just cracked the code and then they're disbanding, you know?
6 months is a long time in CS terms as well. That's a lot of tournaments. That's a lot of matches being played. If you get to that point.
But you think it's going to be like Dignitas Nip, or they're just going to sort of fade?
What
Because
vitality? No,
yes.
I think they're gonna have like flashes of brilliance and stuff, but the understanding it takes to communicate in a game like CS in your second language, like it's just it takes way too long than people consider for it to work. Like if you think about the original iterations of like FaZe or I don't know, I can't really think of too many other super teams that have like managed to make it work. Maybe the new version of G2, like that's a super team. Like it took all of these teams like at least like 2 to 3 months before like doing anything significant, right?
Yeah.
So like the language barrier is something that is really real, and I think we're in this weird zone of CS. We're in the like twilight zone where players are just kind of like dotting around everywhere. Like, oh yeah, I can speak Swedish, I can speak French, I can speak like I don't know Serbian, Canadian. Like well, Canadian not a language, but like they're just making moves.
I know what you mean.
Because the roles fit rather than trying to think about what you can work with in terms of communication. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like to see like the overall competitive level of CS drop because players are trying to like fit roles instead of fit like communication or just like being a good team. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
on the other, but yeah.
No, you go, Steve.
I was going to change the subject entirely, so no. Let's finish with you first of all.
I was essentially going to do a similar thing. I was going to ask about the F1 and
Let's go.
I see. I don't like watching men drive around in really high performance cars and around in circles. So I'm gonna bow out of this conversation. I'll let you two kind of run away with it.
I'm right there with you, Nick, in that I don't like to watch them drive around. I like to see crashes, but
wow, okay,
yeah.
The spice on the Inspiring Grand Prix.
Are you like a NASCAR fan as well, right?
No, just F1.
Go on, James. Give us the
so to set the scene, then Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, the two championship protagonists, are equal on points, with Max Verstappen taking quite a big lead into the middle of the season, and with Lewis Hamilton winning the last 4 races to bring them level on I think it's 360 something points, 363, 365 and a half, something like that, points into the final race, and Max Verstappen takes pole. They line up on the front of the grid at the beginning of the race. Lewis Hamilton charges off the line, taking the lead of the Grand Prix. So midway through the race, Hamilton starts to take a bit of a lead. Verstappen has to pit early because he started on the softs, hoping to get a better start over Lewis. But obviously, Lewis reacted something like 0.1 of a second quicker than Max, and because of how fast these cars accelerate, then Lewis takes the because of, I guess, his better reaction times.
Just sorry to interject there, but that small difference caused so much like impact is like kind of bullshit, not gonna lie, but carry
on. So Lewis takes the lead. Max Verstappen comes in for his pit stop first, and then Lewis comes in after Max to basically perform a mirror strategy, so that he's going to have the better tire. He's going to come out ahead of Max, and he's always going to have a slightly better tire than Max. So the strategy is basically just to mirror and stay ahead of Verstappen. But Red Bull deployed their first sort of trump card, and that is Max Verstappen's teammate Checo Perez. And so Perez is left out to dry and basically to hold up Hamilton when Hamilton catches back up after his pit stop to try and retake the race lead. So when Hamilton catches up to Checo, then honestly, one of the greatest sort of like on-track battles probably of the season takes place, where Checo defends, and then Lewis manages to overtake him. But just as Max is coming back, Checo then retakes the lead and slows Hamilton down from having what is essentially an 8-9 second advantage, I think it was, right to Max Verstappen having less than a second behind Hamilton before letting him back through. Eventually, Hamilton then extends his lead. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't feeling particularly well, so I did fall asleep up until, up until with 5 laps to go, Nicholas Latifi crashes on the track, and there's debris spread all across the track, so the safety car has to come out. And they're not sure they're going to clear the track in time for the race to continue. So if things stay as it is, then Lewis Hamilton will win the Grand Prix. Just as I forget to mention, just as the car crashes, as Nicholas Latifi crashes, Max Verstappen manages to dive into the pit lane to pit for soft tires, because he knows that with 5-6 laps to go, then there is, if the race gets restarted and they're both on old hard tires, then Verstappen is not going to win. So he has to take a risk. And that puts him behind a load of lapped cars. So basically, because Lewis and Max are so fast, they've gone and lapped the majority of the field. They've overtaken the majority of the field at least once. It just shows sort of how unfair the grid is a little bit, because you're only ever going to compete for the title if you're in one of these top teams. But that aside, it's not NASCAR, I suppose. You're not all driving the same, what are they, Chevys or Ford F-150s or whatever they are.
Getting distracted. Action.
I'm not really sure where this is going. Anyway, so the two team bosses, Christian Horner for Red Bull, Max Verstappen's sort of race chief, and Lewis Hamilton's race chief, Toto Wolff, are on the radio to the head steward, Michael Massey, basically pleading their case, like, let them race, or no, end the race here because there's no time because there's no time to get the track safely cleared. But somehow they managed to get the track safely cleared with 1 lap to go. But as I mentioned before, there's a problem for Max, because there's a load of lapped cars ahead of him that he's got to pass before he can challenge Lewis Hamilton for the World Championship. But just before they release the safety car, Michael Massey, the race chief, the head steward, lets all of the lapped cars back and allows Max Verstappen to drive right up to the back of Lewis Hamilton, who is on old hard tires, whereas Max Verstappen is on his brand new soft tires. And then they bring the safety car in, and the two cars go racing, with Toto Wolff screaming at Michael Massey, saying, "This is not fair, Michael. This is not fair." Max Verstappen then takes the lead, I think, into turn 5 at the end of the first sector, taking his opportunity to pass at the first possible opportunity. This is then followed by a very, very long straight, which Lewis Hamilton has the opportunity to close back down to Max, because I think Max made his move too early, being excited to sort of take the lead. And as they are battling up to turn 6 and 7, Max Verstappen goes in a little bit deep into turn 6, whereas Lewis sort of calmly, thinking Lewis is going to make a dive into turn 6, whereas Lewis waits, because obviously Lewis is a 6-time world champion, so he's not going to make a stupid move. And that allows at the end of the next sector, there is one more passing opportunity around the chicane of 12 turns 12 and 13, Lewis is slowly catching up to Max as they go around the track. And at turns 12 and 13, then Lewis makes his attempt. But because Max is on the better tyres, the new tyres, then Max manages to hold position and come round to the finish in the lead with Toto Wolff screaming at Michael Massey and the Red Bull garage sort of celebrating massively. And we get this most glorious of quotes from Michael Massey to shut Toto Wolff up, saying, "Michael, this is we are car racing. This is car racing," and then cuts the phone off, cuts the mic off, and the whole thing looked very, very manufactured, but it was extremely exciting. I don't know if I've explained that very well, but oof.
Yeah, I mean, like yesterday afternoon is when we were supposed to be recording the podcast, and I stepped in, to be completely honest with you, and then Jamo was like, "Do you want to do it tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah, definitely, man, it's fine." But when I went downstairs, my old man was watching F1, and like he very rarely watches racing unless it's like a big sort of event. And I walked in through as the safety car went out, and he was like, "Oh, this should be interesting." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He tried to explain to me, but I just didn't get it, to be honest. Like, but for all intents and purposes, my understanding is Lewis Hamilton feels robbed, not by Max Verstappen, but by the FIA, whatever it's called,
FIA, yeah.
Like Max Verstappen raced the race. He did whatever he did to race, but the FIA have made from all intents and purposes, made a really shit call, to be completely honest. Is from what I'm gathering from it, at least anyway. Because my understanding is that when the safety car's out, you can't overtake.
For safety
cars
reasons.
on the track. Yeah, exactly, for safety reasons. But you can't overtake the safety car, but you can't overtake any other car either. You have to like do the weaving in and out thing, don't they, where they keep the tires warm. And from what I've read about yesterday, at least anyway, Max Verstappen kind of goes to overtake him before the safety car's off the track, give himself that little bit of an extra head start or something.
Well, no. Lewis stops, I think, to try and buy the team director Toto Wolff chance to appeal the decision very quickly, because obviously, as these decisions are made by people, and before the safety car restarted, you heard Christian Horner, who's the Red Bull chief, basically begging Michael Massey to let them race, let the race continue, and you hear Toto Wolff, because you can hear the radio, not necessarily live, but they give you snippets of like the team radio.
Yeah.
And then you can hear Toto Wolff saying, "No, end the race here. They can't possibly have cleared the track, whatever." Basically trying to secure the win for his man. And I think maybe if there was another lap and they let the lapped cars go, then okay, I can see that for them racing on the last lap. But the fact that they let the lapped cars go and then they let them race on the same lap, so the lap cars are still catching up round to the back of the pack, then I don't think that was right, and I think Lewis was robbed a bit there.
I remember. I left the room when they were talking about Mercedes basically walked into the FIA meeting with the barrister. I was like, yeah, that's enough for me for racing. Thank you very much. I'll leave this as is. But yeah, I mean, it seems like for all intents and purposes, and I think there's when I was looking at the BBC News today, like BBC Sport News, there's going to be some form of investigation into it. They'll be probably dealing with this until the next track day.
Next season. So it'll be what, February in Melbourne, maybe.
This will be like the thing which will be probably the most talked about thing up until that point, and then all of a sudden there'll be something new and controversial to talk about, and people will forget about it ever happening.
There's new regulations coming in next season as well. So I think Mercedes are a little bit worried about the fact that their dominance, maybe this might be the last, because Mercedes have been dominant for the last what they call the turbo hybrid era for the past 5-6 years. So the fact that they've had their sort of crown stolen from them on their last hurrah of this rule set, this design, this car design, then I think they're going to be a bit salty about that as well.
So a lot of my mates who watch a lot of F1, they're all talking about the 2022 cars. And kind of wondering what 2022 cars are going to look like and how they're going to perform, what their performance is going to be like. Yeah, I mean, when I spoke to my dad about it, I was like, I'm not really knowledgeable enough to really have a good conversation, if that makes sense. But I think what I probably will end up doing is probably watching a few bits and pieces here and there before the next season starts in February, and kind of get to a bit of a grips with it and understanding of it, because like cars and stuff like that have always been a fascination with me. I really want to go to Festival of Speed.
Ooh, Goodwood.
Yeah, Goodwood. Yeah, I've really want to go there. Because I used to do a lot of car shows years ago when I was still a young man, and I used to take a camera with me, take a few pictures for friends and stuff like that, like local classic car events as well. And yeah, so I've wanted to do Goodwood for a while now, but I've never really been a massive fan of motorsport in that respect. I'm more of a fan of the cars, which is probably
if I remember correctly, then the major rule changes is they're bringing back ground effect to some degree, using Venturi tunnels under the car, and then they're also massively simplifying the aerodynamics over the top of the car, so making the wings smaller and removing the barge boards.
Yeah.
Thus allowing cars to be able to race closer behind each other because they've got less what they call dirty air, so air that's turbulent. And because these F1 cars, they're designed.
I know what dirty air is. I know what dirty air is. So I play a lot of flight simulator games. Okay. So I'm clued up on aerodynamics in that respect because I play a lot of DCS.
I see.
Yes, I get you now. Okay, so they're adjusting the cars to make it a bit more aerodynamic, so they don't have dirty air, which is forcing drivers to back off too much. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, that'll make for more exciting races, at least, anyway, right? Because
exactly.
you're going to be tighter on the arse of the guy in front of you, then it's going to be definitely more exciting.
And
for you, at least, not for him.
And that's another reason why they're bringing back these Venturi tunnels, this ground effect, because the ground effect is not affected by the dirty air, which means that even when they pull up close behind another racer, they're going to have a lot more downforce than they would do otherwise at the moment, because I think it's something like 90% plus of the error of the grip aerodynamically is generated over the top of the car, which means that when you can't sit in the dirty air behind some other car for more than a lap or two, otherwise it starts to put additional strain on your tires as they try to grip, and you just can't race for it. It just isn't good racing, I guess. Sorry, this is
the other thing I kind of been looking at as well with F1, because I obviously saw that yesterday, and then proceeded to see every single meme you could possibly imagine being made about Lewis Hamilton. I saw one on TikTok earlier on. It was like some watch commercial that he's on, and he's like, I can stop time, and I'll have to find it and send it to you after. But then it's just Max Verstappen just laughing his head off, like on the track and everything, laughing about it. But yeah, like the amount of money that's involved in F1 is just unreal as well. I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember reading about Lewis Hamilton having to step down from one of the races because of COVID. So the junior driver took over for him. The junior driver was like 20 odd years of age.
Oh, George Russell.
Yeah, earns like 6 times more than I'll ever earn in my entire life, most likely, for just driving the car every now and again. And you're just sitting there going like, bro, I tried to work every now and again. I could do F1. Yeah, I think Jammer, you could do F1.
I can design it.
Well, I mean, that's good enough. It's good enough, I suppose. Back to the matter at hand, though. Thank you for the insight into F1, though. I will eventually get around to looking into it. I'm more of a boxer and UFC type dude myself. I watch rugby, obviously, being Welsh. I have to support my national team because it's the rules. I wish I was lying, but it actually is like Welsh government rules. If you're Welsh, you have to follow Wales in rugby, otherwise you get kicked out of Wales. But yeah, back to the matter at hand. Currently ongoing at the minute from CS side of things. I'll roll it back to the Counter-Strike conversation because that's what I'm more knowledgeable about.
Thanks to the one viewer that listened to all of that.
All of that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I got.
No, you're good. You're good. You're fine, honestly. It's actually interesting to listen to though, because like I know absolutely nothing about F1, but at the same time, I now feel more knowledgeable having listened to you talk about F1 and kind of like explain how things kind of work within F1. So yeah, no, I appreciate it. Even if Jammer wants to rip a joke at your expense,
no
bully Jammer. Currently ongoing within CS though is the SEA Advanced Season 39, which is currently being played as we speak for the upper finals into the Breach versus Skade. Me and Jammer have covered both teams on more than one occasion over the last 12 months. And Into the Breach currently, they've lost the first map on Nuke, and they're into second map, and they're kind of leading a little bit, but falling on the wayside. But I mean, the reason I fetch it up is because of the way that the season's kind of progressed since the kind of opening rounds of the upper bracket, way back on the, what day was it? It's like 6th of December. I can't believe we're already nearly at the end of the month, by the way. Like, we're already 15 days into it. But how quick this season has gone for like ESEA. It only feels like the other day that we were waiting to go to Epic Land.
I think that's in part due to the fact that we're meant to cast a lot of the ESEA games, but our contractual agreement like team got forfeit wins like 4 out of like 13 games. So like
yeah,
it was like a stunted season for us. But yeah, it has gone quick, to be fair.
Like I just can't believe that we're at the end of another season, and next year starting season 40. I'm going to be 40. I'm joking. I'm not going to be 40 years of age. That's the most cringe sentence I've ever said in my entire life. But yeah, like, swinging into like next season, we've got some stuff on the cards. I think we're like working out who we're going to be covering. James, are you going to be playing any CS for teams next year? You planning on like making a surprise appearance in a team?
I mean, if anyone, I'm currently a free agent, so if anyone is looking or recruiting for someone who's MG1 or like that level, then I am open. My DMs are open, so give me a shout.
So there's a week before Jammer in it, right? There's a week before teams get finalised on the SEA and the Open.
Yeah.
And if you look at Twitter, it's like every other tweet is LFT, or every other tweet is like looking for 2 extra people to join my team for Open this season. Like you genuinely just go on Twitter, you'll get a team like no issue whatsoever. What are you going to say, Jana?
I was going to say, should we round things out with some games that we're looking forward to playing over the Christmas break while we get a little break from casting as well?
Yeah, definitely. You and I now, tomorrow is our final cast of 2021.
Yep.
I have to remember what year we were in then. It's going to be our final cast of 2021. We're covering a charity tournament for Corporate Esports Association. And that's it then. Nothing until the new year. In theory, nothing until the new year. But knowing our luck, we'll probably get asked, do you want to cover this for us real quick? For like the last week of the year? Yeah, I am going to be... So I'm currently play testing through one game, which I'm not allowed to talk about because it's under NDA. Yeah, I keep surprising Jammer with this all the time. Like, Jammer goes... I wish I could show you the DMs, but I really can't. But anyway, we have this DM me and Jammer do today. He sent me a link to a game, and he was like, "Hey, dude, have you seen this game before?" And I was like, "Yeah, my name is on the credit roll for it. Do you want a key?" Like, I just gave him a key for the game, and he's like, "How?" And I'm like, I used to alpha test for loads of different places, like loads of different people. I just get given a game and just like, yeah, here you go, try this out and let us know what you find bug report wise. So I'm alpha testing a game at the minute, which I can't talk about. I am probably going to be putting some time into Escape from Tarkov because that's just wiped, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
And I'm a glutton for punishment. Basically, I hate myself, so that's just the way that it's going to be. I have been playing an unorthodox amount of Minecraft.
Minecraft is like low key. Well, not even low key. It's just a fun game.
1.18 came out, and I wish I could explain to you the amount of how wonderful the caves are. The caves are just unreal, dude. Like, it's everything that you thought Minecraft was going to be back in like version 1, way back when it first came out on like Java first came out on PC. I don't even want to tell you the date that it came out on PC because it's going to make me feel incredibly old straight away. But when Minecraft first started, this is what like the final iteration of it, what you expected it to be. But there's even more to come, which is even great. Other than that, Java, I'm looking forward to Ready or Not when I can actually get a key for it.
Yes, you told me, yeah.
It's one of the games I didn't get a chance to alpha test. You can buy into alpha test now, and your name goes in the credits. So I'm just going, well, it's Christmas. I'm going to treat myself and get it eventually. As soon as Steam give them more keys to give away. How about you, Jammer? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to a couple of games actually. Like, me and my girlfriend started playing Far Cry 5 together, and that's been pretty fun. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what the new update for Cyberpunk is, because despite what everyone says, I still think it's a fun game to play. It may be not what was promised, maybe not what was expected. Still fun. I'm going to enjoy it. CS, obviously. Then there's GTFO, that like co-op like survival horror game. Halo. I'm really enjoying the new Halo, honestly.
I've been wanting to try the new Halo, but I've obviously had my exams and stuff, but I'm finally free.
Yeah,
so
man.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, my internet will hold out and I will be able to play some Halo.
Mate, okay, we haven't touched on it, but I just want to let the people at home know, Jammers is in the most awkward and like silly situation in terms of home internet right now. Like, he has a PC, he can game for all intents and purposes to a reasonable degree. The reason this man has not played a game with like me or Nick or anyone from the like Sasha stream community and all that kind of stuff is because this. James, do you want to explain the internet situation at home? Because I'm going to become irate, honestly.
I would, accept my door is open, so the whole house will hear. So,
all right, I'll go over it real quick. So, James has really shit internet at his house, like his parents' house. Sorry,
I get a whole 0.8 megabits per second.
Oh my god, that's like Dark Ages.
Yeah.
Holy shit, we want AOL dial-up?
No. EE, old school.
Oh my God.
Not even like EE and BT, like the new one. The old EE. As part of my coursework, I had to upload a load of files, and the internet was so slow that I had to go round to someone else's house because it would have taken 5 days of non-stop download to upload. So not download, to upload this set of I think it was fairly big. It was like 15, 16 gigabytes of data. Take 5 days straight of just upload for it to be able to upload.
Absolutely terrifying. Like, to think that would be the case. Like, I couldn't. I honestly, I don't think I could live with internet like that.
Yeah, I suppose it has been helpful. I suppose it has been helpful in some ways in the fact that I now only have my coursework to do, so I don't get distracted. Which I guess is I guess is
how do you watch? Okay, how do you watch films? Like, if you're like Netflix, do you know what I mean? Netflix has like a minimum requirement for bandwidth.
Bro, he goes around to the corner, some dude opens his coat and there's DVDs under it.
Are you still getting
No.
films from Blockbuster and stuff like that? Like, is this where we're at? Like,
No, not
God.
quite that bad. Not quite that bad. It surprisingly at standard definition. If one device is using the internet, you can watch a film.
Oh, that's insane. Like,
Yep.
I made the conscious decision years ago when I first started doing streaming, and actually, when I first started playing PUBG for teams and playing in tournaments, I was like, right, I'm going to pay for the internet for the house, specifically so it's in my name, so I can pick what connection I get, rather than kind of like picking the lowest one like we would normally have done. So the internet in our house is in my name, and me and Jam were talking about this the other day. I'm not going to move out next year. Like I'm getting a mortgage and house and actually becoming an adult for a change. And the internet's coming with me, and they don't know that yet. Sorry, Mum and Dad, if you listen to this podcast, even though you probably wouldn't support it in that way. It's coming with me whether they like it or not. So yeah, that's crazy.
No,
Yeah.
I think if the situation doesn't improve soon, then as soon as I get a job, then I might just do that. Just like you say, just buy the house.
There's contact numbers you can use for like child abuse lines, like genuine. Just like I'm making light of a bad situation there. Like genuinely.
Unfortunately, given that I am an adult, then I think it would be classed as adult abuse rather than child abuse. So, you got any?
You can still get away with child abuse easily. Like when you go to Tesco's with your parents, they park in the mother and child.
No, they are respectable city. They do give the appearance of respectable citizens.
My mum did that up until like I was like 17, 18. That's like, come on now, seriously. I'm 17 years old. You can't keep parking the mother and child thing. Once again, sorry, Mum, if you end up listening to this. Jeremy, you mentioned Cyberpunk. Did you watch the interview with Keanu Reeves?
No, but I'm a fan of Keanu Reeves.
So I like this is very quickly. I'll cover it very quickly over, and that's it.
Okay.
So they were interviewing him about Matrix Resurrections.
Okay.
It was him and Carrie-Anne Moss.
Okay.
And they were like talking about all the different ventures they've had since Matrix finished, and I can't wait for Matrix Resurrections. It's gonna be amazing. And they were talking to Keanu Reeves, and they said to him, have you played Cyberpunk 2077? He's like, I haven't played it. CD Projekt Red told everyone that he had, but he hasn't played it. He admitted he hadn't. So they were talking, and he said, the interviewer was like, do you know that some people have tried to mod the game in a way so they can have sex with you, like your character in Cyberpunk?
Yeah.
And there was this awkward 5 minutes. He went, I mean, I think it's nice if people are nice, and Carrie-Anne Moss is sat next to him, and she's like, "It's a hard no from me." To be honest, if you get a chance to watch the interview, it is actually really funny. I mean, I was going to ask James what his games he's looking forward to, but I mean, Minesweeper is probably going to be the most they're going to play, right?
Hey, I do have Civilization, Civ, and Crusader Kings downloaded, so I can play against AIs on that.
Crusader Kings is king.
Yeah, Crusader. That is. I've had a lot of fun with Crusader Kings.
Okay. So, actual important topic again. Sorry to derail.
Yeah. You're good.
What do we make of the HLTV Top 20 for 2021? Who do we think is going to be up there?
They've already done it, haven't they? Oh no, they haven't done it for 2021. They've done it for like the last month or whatever it is. Like their normal filter.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like
I think Simple has to be at number one.
Yeah, like I think Simple's probably going to put. Yeah, Simple's going to get number one. I mean, it's got to be right. Like, I think he's like second or third all time at the moment. Anyway, yeah, Simple's got to be like number one, right? Like, it's going to happen.
I think the top three has to be at this point Simple, Zyru, Shiro, and then past that point, I've no idea.
I think Nico will be up there.
You're not going to bring
me up there.
Well,
I don't think Nico's going to be top three. I think Nico will be like top five, maybe fourth or bang on fifth.
Yeah, I think Shiro's third, only because he has more MVPs and more tournament wins, right?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I forgot that
He's
Gambit
got more.
had
He's
that
got more
big
maps though
period
as
at number
well.
one.
You got to think like he's played more maps for Gambit as well, right? Like you got
Yeah.
to think of it like that as well. Also, device. Where's he going to be?
Oh, I don't know.
I think like ninth. I think
I was
ninth.
gonna say like
Around
top
there.
10 easy, but like where in that top 10, right? Like it's. I don't think he's top 5. I think he's in that kind of like middle-ish ground between 5 and 10, like 7, 8 maybe.
I don't think I can justify him top 10, boys.
Really?
You don't?
No,
Because they had quite a strong beginning to the year, didn't they? Yeah, Stralis.
I'm not sure, but like he's not had any MVPs. Like if you look at his match ratings, like they flip back and forth between green and red. Like I think he's definitely in there, maybe even top 15, but I honestly don't see him top 10.
Wow.
We're gonna have to have like a redacted version of this podcast. Like, I can see you coming to me like a week's time, going, "Hey, pull the podcast down real quick and scrub this part out for me."
I'm like okay with making a bold claim and being wrong, but like
yeah. Oh, I get
yeah,
you. I get you.
I just don't see
Okay. I
it.
mean, if we're doing like top 20 players, yeah, like okay. So my top 3 would be probably simple. Simple Zaiwu and Shiro is probably like a safe bet, right?
Yeah,
Nico 4th,
I'm
5th.
going to go a bit controversial here and say I don't think Zairu's done enough. He's done a lot towards this end of the season, but beginning to middle of the year, then Vitality were nowhere. I'm looking at sort of May. Okay, but they were third in February, but they just sort of disappeared in the middle of the year for me. And
I mean, like so you got to consider ratings. Like so the ratings for
Yeah.
2021. Simple sat at 1.37. Zairu's right there with 1.30, and then Shiro's 1.23. That's the top 3 for the year.
okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm definitely wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
The other
let's just go top
name
10.
that kind of like
So, like
okay.
Nick, go on, finish yours because you've got up to 5. I think.
So simple. Zaiwu, Shiro. I'm gonna film Nico as 4th.
Yeah.
He's like 4, 5. So these two could trade up at any moment. I think Axel in 5th.
Okay.
From Gambit. I think Electron be top 10. I think he's gonna be 7, 8.
Yeah.
Axel's in somewhere 4th, 5th. I think Device is like in top 10, but like 9, 10.
I'll throw some names out. So we've got Yakinda, Hobbit, Pacerato,
Yeah, but see,
Game.
you say Akinda, VP's up, VP's on the downfall. I feel in it, and again,
They're
I know we're going
definitely
off. MVPs and that, but like, I just don't. I don't know. I mean, I would be very surprised if they're not within the top 15. If Akinda's not within the top 15,
yeah.
I'll say that. I would be very surprised if Akinda's not within the top 15, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if they're outside the top 10.
Okay. Fair. Would you have any of the heroic boys in there?
Ooh. Flirting with disaster here because Cadian's had a really good season. Cass has had a decent-ish season.
Starvin's like their star player though, isn't he?
Yeah, but
Cadian's had them highlight reels though, hasn't
yeah, this is the thing with it. I think Starvin's got like a weaker KD ratio against like Cadian. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm almost certain there's quite a difference between the two. I'm not saying hundreds, obviously. Like I know, like the top 10 differs between like 100 to like 300-400 in some cases. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's that much of a difference between KD ratios, but I think his rating is massively different as a result. I think like Cadian should be Cadian's above 1, like 1.4, 1.3. Starvin's probably 1.1, 1.2. I don't know. I'm pulling numbers out of thin air here at the minute, and I'm just going based on what I'm feeling rather than what is probably accurate as far as stats.
Sorry, I can research. So Starvin's sat at 1.05, and
I'm
Cadian,
completely out.
1.06.
Cadian is 1.14.
Oof. Okay.
I see what you mean though. There's definitely something to be said about like impact and all that kind of stuff. I just don't know how that's factored into it by the HLTV boys.
I neither do I. I think that's the kind of the big
No,
hoopla of it, so to speak.
no American players. Twist, Stewie. I know that not definitely not Stewie, but
Maybe like between 15 and 20, but NA has really kind of like sunk to the bottom of the barrel this year.
I hate to say it, but it's the Valorant effect. I think Valorant,
Valorant did gut the scene, didn't it?
Yeah, it basically tore apart the NA scene as far as CS is concerned, and like it has been an uphill struggle for a lot of teams to really kind of pull back into that. Which is why I think we've all been watching like the major and going, "Oh my god, these European dominant heavy teams are amazing," because we only really have the European dominant heavy teams. Like don't really have those NA teams that we had previously. The Brazilian team, the Brazilian scene has like been almost decimated by Valorant as well. Like the whole Americas has kind of gone through that routine of being like, okay, well, we're going to switch to Riot and play that for a bit.
To be fair,
I'm not
I
going
did forget about Elish.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll bring up the stats for him while you formulate your thoughts.
yeah,
And then we can see.
I get what you mean with Elish. I do get what you mean. All right, like as a player, he's definitely within. I mean, historically, he's been within the top 20 for like the last 4 or 5 years, right? Like he's always been within that kind of remit of it. But I think with the recent kind of losses they've had, they lost to Heroic in the full final. They lost to Blast full final. That is sorry. They lost to G2 in IEM, losing to NIP in IEM. Like they're losing to or he's lost to like superficial teams. It almost feels like not G2 obviously in that bracket, but the way that NIP's been performing. I think he's just gonna. I don't think he's gonna be up in top 20. I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is.
Okay.
I'm just going to change the topic slightly. Back to my beloved G2. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. Like G2, it's painful being a G2 fan because like they can never just win. They can never just win a game. Like you never see them sort of close out. Honestly, G2 do this thing where they will kill 4 people, and then it'll be like, and they'll kill 4 people and lose 1 in like a rifle round, and then the last guy will get 3 kills, and suddenly G2 now have no money going into the next round, and suddenly like and it takes like a Nico Deeg to like an absolute like Nico special to
are we talking about the miss or are we talking about like okay
just in general like the Nico miss, as soon as Nico missed there's like, oh, this comeback's dead, like in terms of talking about the major final. I think I think, as soon as Nico missed, it's like the comeback is the comeback's over. I'm sorry, boys.
He creates talking points, both good and bad. He does, and I think that's the way that G2 have always been. G2 is like the Arsenal of the field. Like that sounds really harsh. That is actually when you think about it loud, but like they've always been in that kind of remit of it. Tell you a player we haven't talked about, Jammer, within the top 20, and James, like we haven't talked about, good old Messi.
No, I'm leaving.
What, dude? Come on now, all right? Like playing for Fnatic, he has been such a really good player for Fnatic. You can't deny that.
I'm really excited for this.
We're talking about the
Fnatic
best players of 2021, and this man's not even been in the Fnatic roster for like more than 4 or 5 months.
2 months is no 3 months, 4 months is when August he joined them.
End of August, yeah.
End of August, yeah.
I'm really excited.
You've got a point. Okay, I am as well, to be honest with you. I'm just glad they got a Union Jack next to the name. To be honest, like I know it's a bit of a meme, but like Smooya, in it. Do you know what I mean? Like he's just
okay. Bold predictions next year. I think Smooya's top 10.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Continues on this upward trend. 100% agree with you on that one. I back that also.
I really rate Alex as well. Vitality did struggle. I felt that in terms of direction when Alex left and when MBK was leading taking over some of the IGL role from him when he was at Vitality. So I know he didn't do particularly well with C9, but I don't think they were given enough time there. So
no, I don't think they were.
I mean, C9, it wasn't really about the time. They were just like something was just going straight up wrong there. I don't know if a coach or a player was like kind of directing things in one way, or if someone was throwing or something. But that project was like dead in the water from like the first couple of matches.
Yeah,
you think so?
I think about their play style. Like there was some mad statistic that of all the teams in the top 20 or something like that, they were like number 1 for pushing through smokes, and players literally cottoned onto it. Like they would just sit there facing a smoke, wait for C9 to push 2 players through a smoke, and then win the round. Like that was their game plan, and I was like, well, someone or something has caused something to go very wrong in this squad. But you know what? We don't look at the dark days of C9. We're just gonna wait for the Boston resurgence, and then we'll be happy again.
I think everyone was a bit kind of shocked with the C9 scenario back in March or April, start of March, start of April, end of March, when Cloud9 were just like, you know what, we're going to put CS on hold for a little bit and we're going to go back to the drawing board. I think there was a few people that were kind of shocked about it, but there were a few of us that were sitting there going like, yeah, I saw that coming. You know, like I saw that coming from a mile away.
That is a bit of like C9's reputation. How you let a major winning roster just fall apart after you win a major instead of trying to keep that together, keep that going. Just I don't really think C9 are in CS.
You might be saying the same thing about Vitality now, though. Like these squads were dead going into the tournaments, and like it's kind of like the last dance effect of these teams knowing that this is kind of like their opportunity to just kind of like frag out, just have fun with it, and because they're playing loose and comfortable, they just win out.
Maybe like what was it when FaZe was falling apart? Was it FaZe or was it? I think it was FaZe when they were after they sort of
after they sold Nico and Carrigan.
I was going to say which iteration of FaZe we're talking about. We're talking about the Carrigan phase?
No, after Carrigan. I think although I think that FaZe roster when they were letting Nico IGL was just a disaster.
Yeah.
I don't really rate Nico as an IGL. I know that's some people will disagree, or he's the greatest player of all. He's one of the greatest players of all time. But
this is interesting conversation coming from a G2 fan.
No, I love Nico as a player, which is why I was so excited when I was worried when he came in because I thought, oh god damn it, he's going to kick out Nexa, and this is going to be like FaZe Clan 2.0. But then I don't know whether it's the Hunter effect, like Hunter trusting Nexa and therefore Nico trusts Nexa, and actually letting Nexa call the strats. Then, I
can hear this coming from your fellow G2 fans that are listening to this. Like, yeah, so that's all I can hear is like people walking around here with like a bell going, shame on this man. Why is he saying these things out loud? why is he saying things that people are definitely thinking internally but don't want to say out loud just in
Yeah,
case? Like,
Okay.
I really hope that they let Nexa keep IGLing when they
Mm.
bring these new guys in, or I'm a bit sad to see the French guys go, but I think it would be Jax that goes. I think maybe Emanet will go, but as much as I love Jax, I think that he's going to be the one to go. Because
tell you what, we haven't really touched on the face side of things. Something I want to kind of fetch up before we wrap things up, because I realise that we've been running for ages and ages now.
Yeah, 1.5 hours now.
1.5 hours deep into an hour-long podcast. Crazy. Robban still being the coach for FaZe after the ESIC ban for the spectator bug, because he was one of the coaches that got caught out for the spectator bug as well, right? Like he was.
Didn't he get vindicated or like absolved because he?
I thought he was still. I thought he just had the 5.5 month ban, or 2, or was it 5 or 6 month ban?
I think it was reversed. It might be I might be thinking of the wrong coach, but I think it was reversed. I'm not sure.
Yeah, definitely wasn't Hunden. The less said on that one, the better. I think it's probably
Have integrity, boys. Of all the one people listening to us.
Yeah, exactly. Have integrity. Don't breach it, definitely, especially when ESEC are involved, because it's a bye-bye, that is. And you're... Yeah, I'm less said about that conversation, actually.
You're
right?
restarting your career as a bartender.
Oh my god, that Instagram video cannot be real. It can't be. Like, I don't... Have you seen it, James?
I don't think I have, but I could just tell from the vibe that James is giving off that this is going to be special, and he's going to send it to me later.
Yeah, it's worthwhile seeing. So basically, like, it is literally him just working in a bar.
Wait, James working in a bar?
No, Hunden working in a bar.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think it got shared around by like the commentary community on Twitter for a bit, and it kind of dropped off the radar for a little bit as well. But like, no one knows if it's legit or not, and no one knows if it's just like,
someone who looks like Hunden.
Yeah, someone who looks like Hunden. You know what I mean? Like someone who's just got the same kind of facial features, the exact same hair. Was it on his official Instagram?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
With
restarting life as a
beginning.
bartender. That's crazy. I wonder if it's still on there. No, I'm on his Twitter. I'm on his Instagram now. It's been deleted.
Well, it was a story, so I don't know.
Yeah, it would have probably gone by now. Yeah. I was going to say the less said about the Hunden situation, the better, but we kind of covered it quite a bit now anyway. I think he's still banned for like another year and a half.
I mean, he's
gone,
mate.
He's gone anyway. Yeah. Did you watch the video from the heroic players? Like
no.
Okay, highly recommend it.
Bullshit anyway.
Okay, so there are parts of it which I felt like were kind of very, it fitted together nicely. If that makes sense, the way that they were talking and how they were talking. What I would probably say is this: we will sit down, we'll watch that video at some point, you and I, and James. Actually, if James wants to come on the next one again. And
absolutely.
We'll have a conversation about the actual, like, the heroic video, and we'll talk a bit more about. It might be worth having an actual episode which is about Sick and some of the bands that have come through in that. I think that might be a good idea to do. Plus, it also distracts people away from having to watch me play CS, so that's like all the better, really, isn't it? In fairness. We talked tonight quite a fair bit. We actually talked quite a lot more than what we both, or what the three of us kind of set out to do, which is good in a way. Obviously, like it's nice to have that long conversation. But to kind of wrap things up, James, do you have any socials that you want to plug while you're on podcast?
I guess Twitter at Jamez official.
There you go.
JAM_ES and then official.
I am at ReaperSteve1. Jammer, you are
on this podcast. I don't care about plugging my Twitter.
Yes.
A man of integrity.
As we finish on an ESIC conversation as well, like, straight up on that. yeah, if you want to know more about me, Jammer, and what we get involved within esports, you can follow each of us on Twitter. I'm at ReaperSteve1. Jammer doesn't like to plug his, but he is at Jammer_CS. If you want to get involved with the podcast on both of our Twitter accounts, I think you've got our email address on there. You can DM us on Twitter if you want to get involved. If you want to send in suggestions of what we can talk about on the podcast, I think that'll be a good idea as well. Just reach out, basically. But otherwise,
I'm just going to ask this then. Where can we find the podcast? Because
oh yeah, that's probably a good idea, right?
That's
Spotify.
Nice.
We are only on Spotify at the moment, but we are going to be looking to do stuff with YouTube in the near future, depending on a number of different factors, actually. But we are going to look to try and do some video recorded ones as well, and a few other bits and pieces. But just trying to kind of work out the arrangements of it all. Yeah, I think that's a good way to finish it off, Jammer. Unless you've got any other questions you want to bring up.
No, I feel that's a good point to end.
Perfect. So next episode will be all about ESEC and bans. You know, the stuff that everyone wants to hear about. We'll probably end up talking a bit about the IEM, not IEM, sorry, Blast Worlds. I think that will probably be the next conversation point that we have a look at as well, also. And we'll try to do an episode after Christmas. Or I say after Christmas, after Blast Worlds, we'll have an episode. And then probably the next one will be in the new year, right? Like that'll be our next kind of sit down time.
Right,
Java doesn't want to.
I wouldn't commit to giving proper episodes now. It's out when it's out, boys. Just keep.
Yeah, it's out when it's out. Yeah, that's actually a better way of putting it. Lance, it's out when it's out. If you don't like that, then it's out when it's out. So we're best.
Yeah, come join us on the podcast as a guest and let us know you don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, though, stay tuned for more. And yeah, we'll be back in the near future with another one. Peace. Good night. Or afternoon. Evening. Wherever you are.
Podcast has finished recording.